تبسم وخل الهموم وخل الغموم وخل الضجر ولا تبتئس من صروف الزمان ولا تشتكي من طعون البشر.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Jummah Mubarak to all of you. On behalf of the imams, officials and Muslims of Masjid Siddique, I'd like to welcome our very special guest this afternoon who's sharing the Jummah talk with us. He's none other than Brother Tayeb Rais. He is the CEO of AWQAF Dubai. And just to give a little background on Brother Rais, his career was spent mainly in the motor industry, with the aspect of marketing being a strong point. And today he's going to share some ideas on WQF in general. But the topic is the concept of WQF in an emerging economy. Brother Rais.
Bismillah. الصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم أخواني. First, I wanted to give my thanks and gratitude to South African AWQAF, who has invited me to be here with you today. Second, I'm kind of honored to be standing in front of you to just say a few words about what AWQAF is, what we have done, and where we're going, in a very simple few words. Now, if you take the organization that I represent, AWQAF and my efforts, we are the only organization worldwide that includes WQF and minors. And what is minors? Who are the minors? Minor is any person who is under the age of 21 has lost a parent, or one of them. A mentally incapacitated person who's become too old or too sick and he cannot run his daily affairs. So all these people are considered a person who cannot control his expenditures, is a mentally incapacitated person. So we have responsibility with WQF and minors. And I'm sure nobody here has heard about the two together. Usually WQF is associated with Islamic affairs. In 2004, His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid decided to separate AWQAF from Islamic affairs. And his vision was very clear. The vision was, AWQAF's responsibility and job is totally different than what Islamic affairs is all about. Islamic affairs is about the spiritual, what we do inside the mosque, the khutbahs, the gatherings, the prayers on Friday. What is AWQAF's role, which we have unfortunately for granted for centuries? AWQAF's role is to take the community's money, invest it in a low risk, and give it back to the community. So at the end of the day, what are we? We are businessmen, just like many of you sitting here. We do business, but we do business for God and for the sake of the community. So in 2004, the separation happened in Dubai between Islamic Affairs and AWQAF. Again, the reason behind that was to concentrate on the concept of AWQAF. The concept of AWQAF is to make money for the community. It's a WQF. Now, a lot of people say, well, we give donations to goodwill. Well, donation is not a WQF. Donation is sadaqah jariyah. Sadaqah aniyah, sorry. Sadaqah aniyah means when you give something to a person for that moment of time. That's a sadaqah. But when I give you 1,000 rand and you put that towards an investment for a long term, that's a WQF. So the return of a WQF is eternal. Ila yawm al-din. The term of sadaqah is one time. So imagine, if I give you 1 rand, I get 1 sadaqah. If I give him 1 rand to put in a WQF, I get sadaqah until I get judged. So that's the difference. Now, unfortunately, because of the separations and because of AWQAF losing its vision, we lost a lot in the past few centuries. So now you see why Sheikh Mohammed put the separation. Now we are concentrating. We have managed to really change the image of AWQAF, and being here today is, we have responsibility toward not only Muslims, we have responsibility toward humanity. That's what God tells us. So responsibility is not only for your brothers and Muslims, but anyone around you. I'll give you an example of a waqf built in Turkey. It was built in 1048 Hijri, about 1800 BC. This waqf was built for the refugees as elderly home, and it's still called Dar al-Ajaza, elderly home. Why did they build this? Because there was a war around Turkey. Istanbul was the capital of the Islamic world. Everybody was coming to the capital. So they built this premises, and they built a mosque in it. After it was built, the managers of that place came to Sultan Abdul Hamid and said, Sultan, we have people who are not Muslims here, and they want to worship Christians. So he said, build them a church. This is during the height of the Islamic Empire. Sultan Abdul Hamid said, build them a church. So they built a church. A little while later they came and said, well, Sultan, nobody's praying in the church. He said, what is it now? He said, well, we built a Catholic church, we need to build a Protestant church. So he said, build a Protestant church. Those churches, as we speak, they still exist, and they are subsidized by AWQAF of Turkey. So as you see, Islam talks about humanity. Now let's go back to AWQAF, that's the more interesting thing. We took over AWQAF that was in Dubai, and we managed to enhance it. In the first year we took over AWQAF, we doubled the return, 100%. Why? Because our job was to maintain and make money out of that. Now where do we spend the money? We spend back into the community. We have come up with projects today that we would like to go global. We just initiated a program which has not been announced, so I can't really talk about it, but it is going to be the first international or global AWQAF in the history of AWQAF. We have never had, usually AWQAF is local, right? We all make AWQAF for our areas, South Africa, Cape Town, Johannesburg, let's do for Dubai. This initiative that we started is going to address AWQAF on a global basis. Inshallah, it will be announced by Sheikh Mohammed very soon. Now, why he's behind it? Because he believes in the good of AWQAF. We have lost track for centuries on what AWQAF was supposed to do. A Dutch, I don't quote me, was a Dutch or a British journalist who walked from Istanbul to Cairo. It took him 63 days to reach. And in his entire journey, every place he stopped was a waqf. He did not pay a dirham along the way because all was paid by waqf. So that's AWQAF. Now, unfortunately, after the menace of AWQAF, when the government started taking over the AWQAFs around the world, people start losing trust in AWQAF. And that has happened throughout the world. People don't trust AWQAF because they didn't trust the government. It's not because they didn't want to do goodwill. They still want. So what they did, they all become in silos. Every group, every Jumah, they have their own waqf. And they only service the very immediate community. Well, waqf has a bigger purpose than that. Now, in case for us to go back and build on it, we have to come out of the shell and think outside the box and outside our own Jama'at. We need to think about the better of the community, the bigger picture of the community. And as long as we don't do that, we will be concentrating on one thing. And the other unfortunate fact of AWQAF is people forgot everything and they concentrating on building mosques. Now, I'm not saying don't build mosques, don't get me wrong. We need mosques. We need mosques where it's needed. Like We have cities around the world, for instance, now Dubai. We have a lot of mosques. There is no need for that many. We could have built mosques somewhere else. But unfortunately, because of the menace of this ideology of AWQAF, people forgot about everything else. In any community, we need more than mosques. I mean, I understand here we run a center, but not every mosque is run like this, by the way. Mosques in different parts of the world, people go pray and leave. So whether you build that mosque for 50,000 rands or 50 million rands, it's only used for one purpose: pray and leave. So can we suffice a nice, clean area for the least amount of money and put the rest in where we need more? We need, orphans need funds, widows need money, sick people need money. We need money for education. Ibn Khaldun, from the time he was born until the time he died, he lived on a Waqf property. He was born in a Waqf house, he went to a Waqf school, he studied, he graduated from a Waqf university, he lived in a Waqf house, and he died in a Waqf graveyard. Everything that his entire life was around Waqf. So, what is when we take, the closest thing to God is when I take my hard-earned money and put it in somebody else's care. That has the highest reward in front of God. We understand that in Quran God said, "Man bana lahu baytan masjidan fid dunya, bana Allah lahu baytan fil jannah." If you build a mosque in this world, God will build your house in heaven. But on the other hand, Prophet Muhammad said, "AWQAF liyatim kahatin." I and who sponsors orphan stand next to each other in heaven. And where does Prophet Muhammad stand in heaven? The highest level of the heaven. For those with Adam. So I could have a house, but I could be standing next to the Prophet. Which one has more ajr? When you serve humanity, when I serve humanity, that is the highest and the closest thing to God. Yes, I can build a mosque. I don't have to build a mosque for 50 million dirham. I could take a brick. If I put a brick in a mosque, God will build me a house. Hatta b'mabhas al-qata. Then mabhas al-qata, in translation of that, is a partridge or francolin bird that you have here in South Africa. His nest is about this big. So this is called mabhas al-qata. Qata means francolin. So even if you build a mosque this big, God will build your house. But why do you want to spend 50 million rand in that mosque if you can build it for 100,000? Take the rest of the money, put it in education. We have kids coming. I see a lot of children in the background there. Tomorrow they need education. Who's going to look after them? If they have rich parents, fine. But what if they don't have rich parents? It is our responsibility for the proper AWQAF aside to support these children. These are our future. I didn't want to go into the numbers of what we have done, but we have taken over AWQAF. Now it's 10 years. We have managed to increase our assets by 10-fold, which should be more. But we would like to see that happening around the world. South Africa, US, New Zealand, Australia, the rest of Europe and Asia. If we come together and say we want to not only help our immediate, but we want to go and help the entire community, the larger spectrum. That's how we achieve and manage to support everybody else and each other. Kids need education. Widows need fun to live. I mean, they became widowed, not the choice of their own. So, and in our society, as Muslims, what was set aside to support that? You pay only one time. In Dubai, under the patronage of Sheikh Mohammed al-Rashid, we are building the first sustainable orphanage. What is a sustainable orphanage? It's the first orphanage in the region that we don't go out and ask for money every month. We come and ask you one time, and we make that into a waqf. So we have the orphanage, which we don't even call it orphanage. We call it a family village. Because once the word orphanage is very heavy, people stain people, oh, he's an orphan. So we don't call it orphan, we call it a family village. It has a village where they live, a residential area, and then we have AWQAF to support that. So if I come to you and ask for 100 rand, I will never ask you again for that property, because you've already paid your waqf towards that, and it's in your name until Judgment Day. So it became sustainable property. So we don't have to support every time. We don't have to go and get support in the mosque or in the society or put boxes to, well, we need money. What happens when we have recession? What's going to happen to those poor children? What was set aside was to support and protect even at the worst of time. If somebody gives me a donation, I will take, but I will not pursue it.
Okay. So how do you sustain these villages?
It's from the asset. So we have raised for this village. The village is 16 villas and a main office of 25,000 square feet to support the kids in the village. And we have set aside 100 million dirham of property. These are all buildings that they have returned. The return of that goes into supporting the village. Now, you have to remember, when you have a waqf, people don't understand, especially waqfs, by the way, they don't understand that when you give me a waqf, not 100% of its return goes towards the community, towards your wish. It could be in case for the sake of education, health, social, and mosques, and or righteousness and piety, which is al-khair. Only certain amount of it will go. The rest has to be reinvested, because as a novel al-waqf, I have responsibility to make sure this asset sustained until Judgment Day. So where the money comes from money generated from it. I mean, businessmen of you understand this. You have to keep something aside to reinvest to sustain that building. So what we do is today we take 40%. The waqf set aside for that village is 100 million dirhams. 40% of that will reinvest. So we always make sure that buildings are new, clean, and livable. How do you convince anyone to buy anything? You market it. You brand it. There are certain people here who understand what I'm saying. You brand it, your product, you market it, and you sell it, and then you sell it with high quality. It's the same thing with the waqf concept. When I was given the village concept, I had to go door to door to people and sell the idea. Now of the 100 people that I went, I sold it to 10 people. You cannot sell it to everyone, but 10 people. So it's just like anything else. You have to market it. It's an idea. In order to convince me, you have to sell it to me. And to sell it to me, you have to market it to be able to, for that product to be sold. By the way, my background is not Islamic affairs. I come from a marketing and sales background. I've been doing different things. And that's how you can change. Now, in Dubai, we wanted to get out of the box. And one of the biggest things was to separate the two. The second was to bring somebody who has nothing to do with this. Which I think I was the fortunate or the unfortunate came to head it. This is a waqf fund. Waqf doesn't have zakat. Plus, the portion that we set aside in Dubai today is 40%. Now, this portion, as we accumulate this portfolio, as it gets larger, once it reaches a certain number, we will reduce it to 30%. Maybe one day I only take 5% for reinvestment, because my portfolio, my kitty, has grown to the degree that I can fix, build, and repair any waqf in Dubai. No, zakat is totally different than waqf. Waqf is what you give out of your goodwill for somebody else's good. And it goes into an investment, and it has to have a return, and the return has to be for eternity, because otherwise it's not a waqf. So out of the return, 40% goes into reinvestment, 60% goes towards whatever that person has agreed or wanted to do. Education, as we said, health, social affairs, Islamic affairs, or any other maslahah that's been set up in the country. Thank you very much, and God bless you all.
Jazakallah to Brother Tayeb for
sharing his insights on the concept of WQF. And like he said, he will be around. If you need more information, please feel free to contact us and we'll put you in touch with him. And Jazakallah to Brother Harun Kala and Brother Zainul Kaji for facilitating Brother Tayeb's visit. And I can tell you that South Africa, AWQAF South Africa is in very, very good hands. We have people with a lot of marketing experience, and inshallah, this is an opportunity, I think, for all of us, whether you're a businessman or housewife, to invest in the akhirah. I think this is an investment for the akhirah. So if you are keen in doing this, talk to us. Brother Harun Kala is available, Brother Zainul Kaji, AWQAF South Africa, you all know, contact them. Don't be shy.
تبسم تبسم وخل الهموم وخل الغموم وخل الضجر